It's an absolutely wild day in the world of Magic the Gathering. eBay has started to ban certain Magic cards and delist the sales from their website. On top of that, we have even more Phyrexia All Will Be One leaks to talk about.
Magic. I am a wizard! History. I'm an old wizard! The Magic Historian. My bones hurt.
Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles, my friends. I hope the day finds you well because we have gathered for another glorious installment of Mega Magic News. And in what feels like a tradition now, we're going to be talking about some more Phyrexian leaks. This time it's pretty much all the rares we've seen from the set. It's pretty insane. But what's crazier than that is what's going on over on eBay, where card listings for Magic the Gathering cards have started to boom, 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 just disappear kind of quietly under the surface. And it had some people wondering, wait, what's going on? What's the deal with eBay? Didn't they just buy TCG Player, right? So if they're buying this card purchasing and selling website, and they also have this vault service where, if you didn't know, eBay has it set up where if you're dealing with high value singles, you actually have to go through an authentication process where they go, yes, this is actually the item it's supposed to be. It's in that condition. Like, there are a lot of layers going on with Magic cards. So why would they be delisting this stuff all of a sudden? Well, if you're newer to Magic and you just showed up, you might not know that in the recent past, Wizards of the Coast made a mini banning where they banned a handful of cards that they considered to be problematic and they would never reprint. So as a result of that, certain websites immediately went, okay, we're not going to sell these, and others kind of took their time. Now, TCG Player was a place where you weren't able to acquire this stuff, right? You had to go to other locations. eBay was a place where you could get it, but in the last 2 weeks, they've started to scrub it all. So all the listings for any of these banned cards are not going to be available on eBay going forwards. If you try and list them again, it won't allow you to. And actually, this has a problem that spills over kind of hilariously to other Magic cards. So you have Cathar's Crusade, which you literally can't list unless you make it plural. So if you go Cathar's Crusades, then it's like, oh, the filter's like, all right, that's fine. Just slap a letter on. So ultimately, there's probably going to be people circumventing this after not too long, but those will be posts that aren't allowed on eBay going forwards. There's another little side tweak to this that I found somewhat amusing, and that is you can't sell like proxies of Magic cards through eBay, right? It's set up to catch that proxy thing. So there's actually a card in Brothers War. It's like Sorceress, it's whatever it is, it literally has in the title proxy. I can't remember the first part of the name right now, but it's literally got proxy in the name, which means you can't actually list it on eBay. One of the cards from Brothers War. And I wondered actually underneath as well, did Wizards put proxy in the name of a Magic card intentionally so that if people are doing like a little internet search going MTG proxy, over time will it go show them the actual Magic card instead of these websites? Who knows? But it is funny that it gets caught up in the eBay filters. So ultimately this handles like about a dozen cards at most overall. I think it's a little less than that. It depends on whether you consider things like, if you didn't know, 30th Anniversary had a secret ban that is similar on the same line as them getting rid of Earthbind and Crusade and everything like that. If you wondered why they didn't bring Weakness back with 30th Anniversary, it's because they think that the artwork in it is problematic with like the feeble old man. So they don't want to equate elderly people with weakness, and so that's another card that's on the list. So that gives you an idea. Now, that one doesn't extend into eBay. eBay isn't going to stop you from being able to buy that card, but the ones that are on that specific list are now even more difficult to acquire, and it's like a different kind of reserved list, right? I mean, Wizards didn't put them on the reserved list, but they're not making them because they consider the cards genuinely offensive to varying degrees. It's interesting to note how this all plays out. But anyways, now that we've talked about the eBay craziness, I would like to talk about Phyrexian craziness. Take a look at this. This is another Silex. This is the Filigree Silex, and this card is exciting on a whole bunch of different levels. This is a 2 casting cost legendary artifact. You tap it to put an oil counter on it. You can also tap it and sacrifice it to destroy each non-land permanent with mana value equal to the number of oil counters on the Filigree Silex. So following the same kind of vibe that we have from previous Silexes where they just wipe out a bunch of different permanents. I like the fact that you can set this one. It's only 2 mana to put out. You can put a counter on it the first turn, so you can have it ready to go immediately. And actually, even if you want to, you could use this to wipe out a bunch of tokens when you drop it right away, because if you sacrifice it, destroy each non-land permanent that has mana value equal to oil counters on it, you have no oil counters on it, then it destroys everything with a 0 cost like tokens. So that's a nice little addition as well. It feels fun in that you can kind of target where it is you want to destroy, so you can save your own permanents. But they actually tacked an extra level onto this as well with the final ability, which I really love, which is remove 10 oil counters from among permanents you control and sacrifice the Filigree Silex. It deals 10 damage to any target. This feels good for a number of reasons. First of all, 10 damage feels amazing. It doesn't matter where it's going. Creature, player, whatever it is. That's a huge feel-good number. On top of that, I've mentioned before from the spoilers that we've seen that there are a number of cards that have a bunch of oil counters, but ultimately don't feel like they matter very much. That changes when you can add in an artifact that only costs 2 and let you pull those counters off and fling them straight into your opponent's life opponent's face, I should say, for half of their life, right? That is absolutely crazy. But another level that I love about this is what it represents flavor-wise, because you had Karn's Silex, right? And then this Silex was made as a copy of that. So you have the original Silex from way back in the day. Karn's going, all right, we've got this Silex. I have the plans. We can make another. Saheeli makes this. It's obviously got her touch, right? It looks like this Kaladesh sort of thing. And it feels way more fragile than the original, but I do like that touch. I like the fact that it looks like a beautiful flower, but this situation is one where it's been corrupted, right? Because if you actually take a look in the back, you can see it's being held by Jace. It's not obvious right away, but when you take a look even further, you can see that Jace is either Phyrexified, he's been completed as a planeswalker, or he has taken his emo phase super hardcore and he's getting ready to go to the concerts with big black rings around his eyes, right? So you can see he has joined the side of Phyrexia, and this weapon, the Silex, this was supposed to be used to destroy New Phyrexia, but instead, here it is, a tool of New Phyrexia, a conduit to spread the oil, to do even more damage to the multiverse. This is incredibly epic as a card. The flavor on this is through the roof, and the power level is great. I like the fact that you can use it to wipe the board, and I like the fact that you can just build it up as a gigantic end blast. Here you go, son. Now, that's not the only funky artifact I have to show you. Take a look at the Soulless Jailer. This is 2 mana for an artifact creature that is a Phyrexian Golem. Permanent cards in graveyards can't enter the battlefield. Players can't cast non-creature spells from graveyard or exile. I'm guessing they didn't want to shut down Commander and stuff like that, so that's why it's non-creature spells. Either way, this is a pretty solid card. You have your standard shut down the graveyard style effect. It's got 4 toughness on it as well, which is a decent sized body, right? I do have to say, when you look at the artwork, look at this thing, it looks like a giant demon, right? And it's got cages for arms. What a cool idea. The prison is built into him to a degree, just I'm gonna drain your life force out while I carry you around and you'll power my magic. I dig that vibe, but 0 power with this guy? I mean, unless he's insanely slow and clunky and can barely move, then he's really, why is it 0 power? Because he looks like he could do some serious damage. That's obviously a flavor quibble, not a mechanic quibble. His power is 0 for mechanical reasons. But when I look at him, I'm like, you're telling me that I walk into a room, this guy can't do any damage at all? That's pretty wild to me. But either way, an interesting graveyard shot off. The flavor text says, lock lock the door and eat the key. I assume that's a command given to the jailer. Lock the door and then swallow the key inside your giant metal body. And it's like, okay, so if you're just gonna have them lock the door and then swallow the key, that means you don't want anybody in the prison to ever get out. So why don't you just destroy them? Why even bother imprisoning them forever? Anyways, that's just a flavor quibble. So, my friends, thanks for coming by. Big shout out to my patrons, and I will see you all, my friends, for the next video.